And we are live. Welcome to the episode 1 of the BAM Media Show featuring your co-host, B-Lock, which is me. And we got your host, the man of the hour, Mr. Malcolm Buggs.
What's going on there, BJ, man? How you doing, man? Nice
Man,
to finally go ahead and get Bam Media underway. And what better way to start this show with? I think this biggest game of the year is Alabama versus Georgia this weekend here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And which is fun fact, I was born there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, at DCH Hospital. Uh,
whoa.
so go ahead and tell me, man, what you think is going to be, or who do you think are going to be the biggest X factors of this game this weekend?
Man, so obviously I watch a lot of YouTube film. Watch a lot of coaches, talk about players throughout the weeks of games during their interviews, and I got a pretty good gist on if Bama gonna win, the O line gotta perform. So I don't have any individual players that I feel like I'm singling out this week as my X factor. I got whole position groups. So it's either gonna be Bama O line versus Georgia linebackers. Georgia linebackers are gonna be the key for me to them winning this football game. Your Michael Williams, your Jalen Walker. I feel like them guys got to have a great game in order for Georgia to pull it out. Uh, but also, Bama O line got to come with it if they want to pull it out. So it's gonna be tail of the tape, mantra against mantra. I mean, physicality on physicality. Pretty much who just wanted more. And whoever pretty much, win that battle. That's who I feel like take that dub. What you
Okay,
think?
okay. Personally, just to recap where you coming from, highlighting key players in both of those position groups. If you think about, uh, like you said, Michael Williams, will he be 100%? If he's 100%, I think he gives the Dogs the ultimate chance because of the, I would say, new starting tackle and Elijah Pritchard with him really being these first 2 to 3 games of really just getting some starting experience. And obviously, Kane Proctor, who I would say I was the number one tackle coming out of his class, but has shown deficiencies when it comes to pass protection. I think that is the only, um, or one of the only question marks about his game. I think he's a big body, and if you look at the left side of Alabama's O line, which other guys that I've watched with Chalk Talk have mentioned as well, if you look at the center and going left with Tyler Booker and Kane Proctor as far as in the run game, and obviously Jaden Roberts, aka the Hulk,
Hey,
uh, at right guard it Alabama has one of the best rushing attacks or anchors in rushing attack when you think about that.
yeah,
But Michael Williams, will he be ready to go? You think about Small Monday. You think about some of the young guys in that rotation, like C.J. Allen,
real.
the Cole kid, Will, and then obviously you said Jalen Walker. So it's going to be a great, I would say, challenge. But those running backs that we talk about, obviously Jam Miller and Haynes have been in this situation before. But like Kirby said earlier, and I was watching his, I actually watched about 2 or 3 of his interviews this week because I love to get the perspective of not only the players, but also getting the perspective of the head coaches.
Yeah,
Honestly, they're the ones who get interviewed the most. And then obviously they get the praise and they get the most scrutiny when they win or lose. So obviously
yeah,
their word is very, very important. And listening to Kirby talk this week, it's a lot of familiarity in their defense because it's not that many guys that, they had to replenish when it comes to the front, when it comes to the back end. You think about some of the guys that they actually did replace with, like the number one safety in the class 24, the number one. corner in the class 24.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, guys that have already been there, like the Harris kid. Um, so I think that, Georgia stacks up pretty well. But when you talk about those two position groups, but this is a great, great game because of the firepower that's on both sides of the ball. We talk about great players on one side and then talk about the counters and think about, wow, this is going to
Yeah.
be a toss up all night.
Let, let
So,
me
but
let me ask you this real quick, not to break you up, but let me ask you this real quick. Do you truly think you think this Georgia team has less depth or more depth than previous Georgia teams in the past 2 years? Is this Bama's best chance to beat Georgia single handedly and not for it to be a close game going down to the final seconds? Or will it be another barn burner to where it takes all 60 minutes to determine the winner?
well, honestly, I think it's going to be a close game regardless. I think um, Georgia doesn't have as much depth as they've had in the past. But when we talk about comparing it to the past, we're talking about guys who ended up being first round picks or, highly contributing players in the league. When you think about some of the guys that were part of some of those teams, you look at Big Jordan Davis, you look at uh, Travon Walker, you look at Quay Walker. We talking about
Out of them boys.
Jalen Carter, Miko Harmon, all these different guys that and Harmon is just a producer because he didn't go high. He didn't get drafted high or anything like that, but
Yeah.
he was a producer in the league. So
Mhm.
yes, obviously the depth is not as, you know, plentiful as it has been in the past, but like I just said, he comes from a tree where all he knows is the next thing, reload, recruit. It's a daily thing. If you're not going to recruit, you're not going to win. We talk about a guy who has experience being an elite recruiter as an assistant and as a DC. We talk about him cultivating the staff and the atmosphere, in which honestly, I got a chance to experience it going to the 2024 Georgia Spring Clinic,
Mhm.
in which they offer us opportunities to sit in on meetings on 2 different days. It was a 3-day clinic. So listening to Glenn Schumann, listening to Ron Robinson, listening to Dante Williams, listening to uh, Mike Bobo, hearing from the receiver coach. I think it's Conley, I want to say, but being able to hear these guys' different insights and chalk talking and see why and how they are able to, produce guys at a high level, but also develop guys, it's obvious because their in-depth knowledge is there. But I would be lying to say I didn't feel the same way when I went to Alabama. Okay, the connection that I have at Alabama is, I would say, more relatable because I played for 3 coaches that are on their staff, and all of them on the defense side of the ball. And Coach Womack, Freddie Roach, Colin Hitchler, those guys are some, I would say, great guys, but they also, I would say, have a lot of different experience to be able to produce information and be able to
Yeah.
develop their players, reach their players, always keep their intention. So, provide engagement, reinforcement, positive and negative reinforcement for their guys in order to help them grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be lying to think that the other coaches lack in that department. When you talk about DeBoer, who's been a winner everywhere he's been,
Definitely.
um, you talk about him having Nick Sheridan with him the last 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Obviously, Coach G's been to Alabama. The offensive line coach having experience in the Big Ten. This just yes, Saban has been known to continue to produce elite staff, and it's obvious because if you the best stat that I've looked at over this past offseason, because I'm just a Saban fan. I love Coach Saban, but the best stat that I've seen is all season that's testimonial to him was to look at his 2015 coaching staff. And this is not the best stat because he has a multitude of stats that you can look at and just be like, this
Mhm.
is great. This is great. This is just, top tier.
Yeah.
This is unreachable. This
Insanity.
is, yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
But to say, and you look at 2015, he had on his staff Schumann and Landon with GAs,
Mhm.
which Schumann has now been the coordinator, a co-coordinator at Georgia for the last, 5 years maybe? But he's been there since
2019,
he's been there,
something like that. Yeah.
something like that. But he's been there since Kirby first got there, so
For
he's
sure.
had that experience.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning, who was there at Georgia as a DC before
Mhm.
he got a head coach opportunity with a
Yeah.
team that's not flourishing and make the playoff, possibly win the Big Ten. Um, Mario Cristobal, I think, and we'll get into our, the playoff projection picks, Power Four winners, all that later.
Yeah.
But Mario Cristobal, who I think would probably win the ACC this year, having the years that he had, the transfer class that he had, and then being able to recruit. And then I think he has an underrated coaching staff as well. I played for his corners coach, Coach Shevis Jackson. Um, Jason Taylor's out there coaching the DNs, former Hall of Famer. I mean, I think he has a very underrated coaching staff. So Miami, um, and then who else I was talking about? Dang, I forgot that fast.
I mean, you talking you were hitting on all the gurus in that 15 class, and you just
Oh
stopped.
yeah, my bad. So Cristobal, of course, Corbin Smart, obviously the defensive coordinator, and now two-time national champion. Could have went three, um, had not, Coach Saban got in the way of it. But Kirby Smart, obviously. Mel Tucker, who was a head coach, had an unfortunate situation and is not currently coaching
Mhm.
anymore. Um,
Oh, Lane.
Billy Napier, who is the current head coach right now in Florida. Lane Kiffin, current
Mhm.
head coach right now at Ole Miss. And notice that I'm talking about 3 or 4 programs that are currently like top 10 every
Top
week.
10 every year.
We
Yeah.
talk, yeah, like, so that stat in itself is amazing. But I think this coaching staff at Alabama, that's what I was comparing it to. I still think this coaching staff right now at Alabama is very, very underrated
Oh,
because of the one aspect of having head coaches leave their positions to come to Alabama. Um, two, having two guys that still staying on the staff from the previous years, and
yeah.
that's anchoring because it
Recruitment.
helps with team morale and it helps with recruiting because
Mhm.
you're still able to send some familiar faces in the rooms
Yeah.
that you may not be as familiar with coming from the West Coast and coming from the Midwest,
Yeah.
which the boys' background is.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
um, the coaching staff, this is going to be a great game all the way down to a T. So the X factors for me, which and like I was saying, I was
Mhm.
elaborating on your X factor. The X factors for me, um, I would say, for Georgia, I go Georgia first. Um, being able to obviously withstand a night game in the SEC on the road. It really we a lot of people talk about that, but I think that's very impactful just because me just being a former Group of Five player, Division I player, and going into atmosphere like I would say maybe South Carolina. Um, where else we went? We went to Oklahoma State, going to Ole Miss. When you think about some of these Mississippi State, when you
Yeah.
think about some of these programs, I'm not even naming top tier, and the passion and the fandom, the morale, the community support, the campus
Mhm.
engagement is on another level. So
Yeah.
imagine at these top tier programs like Alabama, like Georgia, like Tennessee, like Texas, like these are going to be LSU. Obviously, don't matter who comes there at Death Valley on a Saturday night. It's
Oh,
going to be very, very loud.
oh,
We're talking
yeah.
about Richter scale numbers. So that is very, very important to me. I think that's going to be one big X factor for Georgia. Can they be able to withstand the noise, but also the, I would say, challenge it's going to be? Because honestly, they did it in Kentucky, but Alabama and Kentucky. If you can see my scale, you can see how tilted that'll be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
understand that that's going to be a big X factor for them. And then the second thing I would say is, does their depth, are they deep enough
Mm-hmm.
to match what Alabama's going to be able to present? Because honestly, me going to be able to see both programs, I would say, looking at Bama, to me,
Mm-hmm.
the place where they lack depth the most would probably just be the O line. And that's just me, because after I named them first four, it started to get shaky. You know what I mean? Or that first five.
Mm-hmm.
But, one can only really play this position which somebody else already plays better than him.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
kind of gets shaky, right?
yeah, yeah.
And you look at everywhere else, I think it's a multitude of depth everywhere else, from running back, quarterback, receiver,
Yeah.
tight end, D end. I think they have tremendous depth, and having a bye week on top of 3 games,
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially 4 weeks plus fall camp to be able to develop guys. Guys are starting to come into their own. For
Mm-hmm.
example, listening to all the interviews, Christian Robertson, Freddie Roach this week, Coach Womack, Yanze Pierre is starting to develop, and he's a freshman.
Yes,
He's
sir.
starting to catch people's eyes, as far as his weight gain, being able to control his body, being
Mm-hmm.
more fluent in run support, but also continuing to show signs in which that's what catches everybody's eye, is his ability as a pass rusher. He's
Yeah, yeah.
he's athletic, and me being a high school coach, coach
Mm-hmm.
basketball the last 5 years, and coach football all 6 years. This is my 6th year coaching high school football. Um, Me being a high school coach and hearing about St. Pierre, I'll go to state of Alabama. A lot of talk was about him in basketball. So me knowing how athletic this guy is, I
Yeah.
know that weight, and then being able to be in the program,
Mm-hmm.
he will become a contributor sometime down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
See that.
a lot of, and it's other people that I could touch bases on,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a lot of depth and linebacker. Now, obviously, everybody throws the question about Bama's depth in the secondary, in which you just say that because of the youth.
Yeah.
But
They just
I
have
say
experience.
correct.
Yeah.
But I said I just highlighted a freshman. I can highlight other freshmen that'll be ready to go. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, with the bye week, I think this is just that week. When you think about it,
Yeah.
uh, this is week 5 game. The season is about to hit this week. They're not going to walk away fully healthy, um, on both sides of this, because this is going to be one of those bloodbaths, because everybody knows what's at stake this weekend.
Yeah.
And then thinking about Georgia depth, we just outlined or clearly stated earlier that we both agree that it's not the same as it always has been.
Urban said that himself in the interview that we don't got the
Correct,
same team right now.
correct,
Mm-hmm.
correct. And that's obvious, because 13-12 with Kentucky, yes,
That's
but
every year though.
I
On the
see
road when they play them on the road.
correct. I think they only beat them by 3 last time they went to Kentucky 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and 2 years ago was a more deeper team.
Yeah.
But but to say this is what's going on in Kentucky, and we talk about all the question marks that surround Kentucky's football program. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing that stood out to me about Kentucky in that game was how physical and how SEC like, or I would say how they looked apart when you talk about their size in the trenches on the defensive line because
Oh yeah.
I saw a few guys like number 0. I can't remember that kid's name, but that guy is huge.
I
That
mean,
guy is is
if you,
is very impactful, and then he also had other guys who were striking out the ball and they're creating havoc for Georgia, which made it a tough game. And they didn't score until when the second half,
yeah.
third, fourth quarter.
If you think about it though, you listen to Kirby Smart talking a lot of his interviews. He always say every SEC road game is a tough boxing match. He said
I agree.
you ain't gonna never just go up in another team spot and just
I agree.
beat them from first snap to last snap and just
I
dominate.
agree.
He said
I
he
agree.
because you can you can look and see it. Vanderbilt just played the heck out of Missouri. That's a practically one of the worst teams in the SEC versus one of the top 3 or 4
And,
teams in the SEC.
and might I add, I'm not the only one that agrees here when I made this comment. Vanderbilt is not a bad team. So whoever has Vanderbilt on their schedule, it's going to be a tough game anyway. Their head coach is bringing a new, uh, I would say, culture, trying to bring a new culture and implement a style of winning both on and off the field. Which
Yeah.
I was formerly recruited by Vanderbilt. What they have to offer academically is top of the SEC.
Oh, any day.
They just can't put it together
Hey,
consistently
I ain't gonna lie to you
from
though.
an athletic standpoint on the football field.
When
They
Bama
compete in
get to
other
'em,
sports, but
when Bama get to them, we gonna dub their head though. We ain't playing with them like Missouri played with 'em. We gonna dub
yeah,
their head.
yeah, that's what I think that's what all we all expect.
Yeah.
But the questions that surround each team depth, that's the X factor for both of me. And then Bama's X factor. Um, and I'll go 2 for Bama just because I think I'm a little bit more in tune with, me honestly playing in Coach Womack's system for him, which it has evolved. I think
Mhm.
he used quite, compared to when I played for him for 2 years at South Alabama.
Mhm.
Um, and then also his last 3 years or 3 or 4 years as a head coach for South Alabama, his style has continuously evolve, and honestly it still keeps some of the same concepts and principles.
Yeah.
Now, I'll give a brief, explanation of some of this stuff, but obviously everybody's not gonna be able to understand where I'm coming from. But
Hey, y'all
his his
know from Coach MB.
yeah, so his his fronts, I think the way he uses his fronts,
hmm
um, a multitude of 3 and 4 down looks, but also always getting 5 to 7 hats in the box picture, depending on the type of formations he's getting from teams offensively, and obviously their tendencies and what they're good at has changed. On a year-to-year basis, honestly, because some of the same fronts that I'm seeing him use with 3 down and having like I would say a sniff backer or a backer that kind of fits,
Kind of float.
depending, correct, a floating backer that kind of fits anywhere to 2 to 3 yards around the line of scrimmage, and
hmm
uh, depending on what call he makes, depending
Yeah.
on how he's slanting or whether he's stunting or running games, different things with his defensive front scheme with his linebackers together. But that has changed a bit since
Yeah.
when I played with him in 16 and 17. I also think the way he continues to ev- tweak his zone pictures. He's added quite a bit, and obviously, him being able to meet with Coach Saban and have access to Coach Saban, and to try to implement some of those same principles to kind of make the transition a lot smoother for these guys was
hmm
also, I mean, brilliant. But it's what you have to do in order to be able to still get the most out of the players,
Yeah.
switching systems. But I see a lot of him acquiring some of those same ideologies with the mid front. and the mint pitcher as well, which Georgia will use as their base because everybody knows Kirby comes from that same tree as
Yeah.
far as using that traditional 3-4 and
Yeah.
playing with zero nose and 2-4 eyes, or um, playing with zero nose and being able to go to a true eagle front um,
Mm-hmm.
with um, with a three technique. And so I think that Kane is trying to really show the best of both worlds when it comes to his front and give multiple guys the opportunity to play. If you ask me, the way Quay Russo was used, it's while he was playing early in the season. It You see Q Robinson play that role a bit. You've seen Cole play that role a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously here Yonze Pierre thing, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some burn here. Maybe if not this week, somewhere down the line. But being able to have athletic guys who can also be, stickers. And what I
Yeah.
mean stickers, hold their gap in the run, because being 230, yeah, that works, but when you're constantly roaming and floating around the line of scrimmage, you have to, be able to have some size to be able to withstand, especially if they're running a gap scheme run right at you and you're redirecting to get into the gap. So I think it's definitely a defense that's fit for athletic, but also finesse guys
Mm-hmm.
that are able to, still be able to be physical and strike. I mean, look at the production from LT Overton. I mean,
Wow,
uh,
boy. That's a big get in the offseason.
correct. And then with him wanting to leave A&M because of the way they were trying to play him more as a stand-up backer and more in space, make him a traditional outside linebacker.
And they made him
Him
lose a lot of weight when he was at A&M.
Correct. So him to be able to come here, put on his weight again, and get back down to some hand in the dirt pictures, in which now I think he plays more hand in the dirt than he ever did at Texas A&M in one. And this ain't even a full season, but in a quarter of a season than he
Mm-hmm.
did in 2 years. So I think he's going to continue to blossom in this defense. You look at the rotation that is in the middle with Tim Keene
Mm-hmm.
and Jamar Latham and uh,
Tim Smith.
Otis, Tim Smith.
Yeah.
You talk about guys,
Hey.
seasoned guys, and then you got some young guys in there as well that I think down the line will be able to play like E Hill, Edric Hill, and obviously James Smith. I can't forget about James Smith. Uh,
Montgomery.
yeah, so I think this is uh, going to be a great game now with the depth.
Well,
All right, X Factors checked off. Go ahead. What you about to say?
so I got one real highlight for the game that I feel like it's my matchup. It's my matchup. So we talk X Factors, but I got a good matchup I want to exploit. Ryan Williams versus KJ Bolden.
Mm,
Two freshmen. They won't always be on top of each other, or you probably won't see it much. But it's gonna come a play or two where KJ Bolden is gonna have to be on the top of Ryan Williams on either the hash or slot fade. I guarantee you the boy gonna try to exploit freshman versus freshman because he gonna feel like he got the better freshman. He gonna look some part of this game they're gonna have to find a weakness, and I don't think that weakness is Malachi Starks.
yeah,
So
but see,
you're gonna have to go after the freshman.
I feel that, but I think personally, I don't think he. Me personally, now
Yeah. They're just a
I
fan
just
talking, man. They're just a fan
yeah,
talking.
I don't think he's going to. try to play that game as much. I think he will look for those opportunities. What coordinator wouldn't, what
Mhm.
former OC wouldn't. Um, but I think it's going to be more of a flow of the game, a rhythm thing, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out what they're doing. And obviously, they have plenty of film on what they're doing, but just
Mhm.
like everybody else, Georgia's going to continue to evolve and find out what their weaknesses are and conform to the strengths of their players, just like everyone else on a daily basis. So you
Mhm.
still have to figure out those different nuances that they may add, and obviously playing to the strengths of the players that they have now versus the players that they had last year and years before. But
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
think, I think that he's gonna, try to make this a rhythm thing because
Yeah. Yeah.
you look at it. I think I think they have just as much. I know everybody talks about Ryan Williams, and obviously he's supposed to. He's 17 years old.
Yeah.
I watched the young. I was safeties coach on the sideline in 2022, November, first round of the playoffs in Saraland when he was 15, and he gave us 21 points in a quarter. Um, one running or two running and one on the pass receiving touchdown, in which the first one that he ran, he was supposed to throw a touchdown, but he just muffed the ball a little bit and just had a Reggie Bush like play. But I've seen his greatness in hand firsthand. But I think their staff at Alabama, especially with Sheridan and obviously the receiver coach Shell having
Yeah.
so much faith in a guy that he's already coached and poured into at Washington. I think they
Mhm.
believe in Sherman Bernard. I think they're starting to develop more of a trust for Emmanuel Henderson. I think Kobe Prince has always been a guy that they see as reliable.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and then you know, hopefully, I haven't and I've been meaning to try to dig up some dirt about that, but I haven't seen the status on Cole Adams. But he was a trending young receiver as well earlier before he got hurt. So
Yeah.
I think that they have depth that they trust,
Mhm.
and obviously I think they know that this is a team that's going to be talented. You just have to be able to play chess, and you have to take your shots and your opportunities
Yeah.
and make the most out of them at
Yeah.
every given opportunity that you get because you're not going to get many of them. This is going to be, which leads me to my next point, which we can go ahead and get point two out of the way, which is my score prediction. I think it's going to be anywhere from a 1 to 3 point game. Obviously, the spread is 2.5 for Georgia. That's a big thing that everybody's been talking about. That Bama has been in a underdog at home for 17 years since
Mhm. Just
since
saying, put it out there.
since Goat Saint Nick came. So
Yeah.
with that being said, that's historical. Another thing that's going to be exploited this weekend. But
Mhm.
my score prediction, I think it's still going to be a three. I think it's going to be a 3 point game.
Who winning though? No,
Personally, I
I don't
think
want to hear. I don't want to
I
hear
think
3 point game. I want to hear the
a
who win the
three
game.
point game. I think it's a 3 point game, and it can be anywhere from 17-14 to 31-28.
Ooh.
I think I think
Ooh.
I think it's anywhere from that range.
Okay.
Um, and but I think it's going to be a good game, and I also think the implications behind it is for Bama. Uh, I think the implications differ. Like for so as far as if Bama wins, it obviously places them as number one team in the country.
Mm,
Uh, because they'll have a more marquee win than Michigan for Texas at Michigan, in which Michigan is good, but they're not as good as Georgia. And we've seen this before. We can go back 2 years. Matter of
mm-hmm.
fact, I want to say that Georgia tail whooping that
Against
they
Michigan.
gave Michigan probably
Mm,
fueled them to be able to eventually get over the hump
yeah.
last year.
Cheater. Cheater.
So
Yeah. Cheater.
well, that's a topic for another day. But I think the implications definitely are great for Bama to go to number one and also be a marquee win for them, even though it's at home. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think that's the toughest game on Bama's schedule by far. I mean, I ain't gonna say by far, because Bama has to go to Oklahoma. Bama has to um,
Tennessee.
they have to go to Tennessee and LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, those are all going to be tough games, and I think Tennessee is the very very sneaky team just because they're starting to look more complete when we talk about not just talking about how many points they can put up. No, we're starting to talk about their pass rush. We're starting to talk about how many guys they can roll in on the defensive front. We're starting to talk about their continuously, I would say, revamping of their linebacking core and their secondary core. So they're I think the next toughest team on Bama's schedule this year. When you go from Georgia to Tennessee.
I I
Um,
think that's the game because if you ask me, Bama Georgia match up every year. I mean, when they play each
yeah,
other, they pretty much the same team from talent to coaching. Both teams got great coaching staffs. Both teams got great players. Mono against mono, your man against my man. Who just wanted more? Tennessee
yeah,
gonna get you from a schematic standpoint. They gonna scheme against you real great. Georgia's just gonna try to come out there and whoop you. We the bet. We the bigger dog. We the better dog. Tennessee gonna come out there. Josh Hyper gonna put that speed on you. He finna get
yeah.
out there and space the game for you. So I feel like Tennessee gonna always be the tougher matchup for us, just because they're gonna try to get us out of our element and make us play their
Mm-hmm.
game. Georgia gonna play our ball because they play that same kind of ball. So I
Yeah.
truly do feel like, this game gonna rest on Taylor Milroe's shoulders. You know what I'm saying? He has to make the throws to the guys that are not necessarily expecting to beat Georgia when he needs to make those throws. Like,
Hey, and not to
like
interrupt,
yeah,
not to
yeah.
interrupt you. I want you to keep elaborating on your point, but that
Mm-hmm.
was my last X factor for Bama. Will Jalen Milroe make every throw that he's supposed to make? Because looking at even this past week, I like what he looked like versus Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
But watching some of the film breakdowns and also just watching the game myself again
Yeah.
after I watched it live because that was
Mm-hmm.
my birthday actually, the 14th. In which we had a grand time for that. But
Man.
like I was saying, that he had some late throws, some miscues,
So,
some missed opportunities just
mm-hmm.
because he was, I would say, fretting to get rid of the ball. Sometimes worried about making a mistake instead of just
Mm-hmm.
taking what the defense is giving to him. And I think that was always his knock. I never thought he couldn't play quarterback. I just always thought his knock was worrying about making a mistake
Mm-hmm.
instead of playing the game, and also two, finding a coordinator who realized, look, we need to do what you do best. And I would say
Yeah.
that's hit or miss because we watched Gus Malzahn do it with two consecutive guys for a number of 3 to 4 years with
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton and Nick Marshall.
Marshall,
Just do what they do best, and you're still gonna get the most potential out of a guy.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Jalen Miro had that last year. No, it's no cut or no shot to Tommy Reeves, but I think Nick Sheridan and obviously Coach DeBoer understand that we need to maximize this guy's strengths
Mm-hmm.
and work on his weaknesses while we continue to develop and install a system. I don't think that they've shown you much in which that's great. That's grand. He hasn't done. If you go watch his, uh, I would say, play sheet catalog with Michael Penix, you'll see a multitude of formations and a multitude of route concepts. But you
Mm-hmm.
got to think about your sample size. Your sample size is 2 to 3 years worth. We haven't seen much just yet because in that 2 to 3 years, he ran a multitude, a variety of formations because he knew that he had a gunslinger that can understand concepts, but also understand defenses and their counters to
Mm-hmm.
the concepts that they have that they'll continue to work. and also being able to have command of an offense for so long, you get comfortable. You know what checks to make, what audibles you like, and then the personnel that you have on the field, you're able to get the best out of those guys because you're more comfortable and confident in the offense. So I think that's going to continue to be a trend for Alabama. Um, I hope, because I want Bama to win as well. I hope that, you know, he continues to make those strides. But like I said, he's going against a team that is not going to make many mistakes. And I'm talking about even from their quarterback position. Carson Beck
Don't turn the
is,
ball over.
he don't turn the ball over. So therefore, every possession that they have has the opportunity to be positive because he's not going to be the reason that the ball is turned over. And I like that stable of backs, you know, from ETN to Robinson. I like that. And what's the other kid name? Is it Cash Jones?
Yeah, Cash Jones.
So I like that stable of backs as well. So like I said, it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be a bloodbath. And my score prediction again, anywhere from 17 to 14, all the way to 31-28. I think this what type of game this year.
And
You already my
that what I was saying when I was talking about Jalen Milroe about making all them throws.
yeah.
That's why I don't think the fan of me always gonna say Bama gonna win. But just me knowing my boy Jay Mill, I haven't seen him do this enough. I think Georgia call out his weaknesses and they try to make him beat them by doing something he don't usually do. I think we lose 28-23, somewhere around there, 28-24, 28-27. It's gonna be close. But I do feel like I don't think he gonna make them right reads or he gonna dump the ball off instead of looking for the big play. I think that's gonna come back to bite us. I think that's gonna
Yeah.
come back to bite us.
And I like your prediction now, because of what you're basing it on. I would say my prediction is just based on the fact that I don't think Georgia's gonna be able to stop the rushing attack.
Mm.
I don't think that you've seen everything that the boy wants to do with Milroe in the run game. I think you've seen basic quarterback draw. I think you've seen basic Q power. Um, and I think you may have seen some Q buck. It's either Q buck or Q truck, but I don't think you see everything that he wants to do as far as zone read. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you see everything he wants to do as far as RPO.
You haven't seen none of that yet.
And they haven't even incorporated the tight end as much besides just arcing and either down blocking or reaching. So
I
the
will
tight
say
end,
this. I
you see,
will say this though to that statement you just made. Jalen Milroe done missed a couple throws to them tight ends that done been wide open too.
oh no, I wasn't talking about in the pass game. I
Oh,
was
okay,
talking
okay.
about
They running the
I was
ball.
talking about yes, I was talking about in the shuffle game when
Okay,
you start to get the going speed option with J Mill opposite, and then you shuffle the ball right into the
I got it.
middle of the line of scrimmage with a tight end like
Okay.
CJ Dupree or Quavis,
Yeah, yeah,
or put the helmet down and run straight through you. See,
yeah,
that's what I'm talking about right now.
I
As
got
far as incorporating a multiple approach when it comes to the run game.
you. Yeah.
And I don't think you've seen that yet. And I think you will see that this weekend. And I think that'll be the reason why Bama's able to win and control time possession.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're steadily running the ball, this is a perfect world. Now, if they can't run the ball, I can see why your prediction would be valid. But I think they're gonna be able to run that ball this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've given um, obviously those guys that may have some nicks and bruises on the offensive line opportunity to heal up. And like I said, I trust what they have. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if Pritchard continues to get better, I trust what they have at all
Yeah,
five. Uh,
yeah.
in the run game now. We talking about a run game. If you
Hey.
force Alabama to throw the football, that's going to be your best shot for Georgia to win the game, making them have to drop back and throw and getting them in third long situations. If Georgia wins on first and second down, defensively, they're gonna be able to control the game. Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, me being able to coach on both sides of the football is definitely great. But obviously, understanding the sense of first and second down being drive setters, but also shot or establishing downs.
Oh, that's early.
Correct. And knowing that first and second down is very important to win,
Mm-hmm.
it sets the defense up. So, yes, I definitely think that's why the game will probably be a 3-point Bama win because they'll be able to run the football. Now, I'm gonna elaborate on my last topic, and then I want you to elaborate on uh the grammar cat the I would say wait if Georgia wins. Now, if Georgia wins, obviously they'll bounce back up to number one in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to go on the road against the top five opponent in the SEC, a night game and win.
Yeah.
But it's about how they win. That will kind of, I would say, kind of level out and whether Bama drops very low
Mm-hmm.
to like, 10, 11 or 12 or Bama stays within the top 10. That depends on how Georgia wins if they win.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a good thing for Kirby just because it's able to show that it's something that he's gonna be able to show and obviously totally recruiting, but it also is kind of foundational because this is your first game against the boy.
Yeah.
You're wanting the stat is out there and Saban just retired, so it's not gonna change that you're 1-5 against Coach Saban. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you did win 2 national championships back to back, but the reason you ain't win 3 was because of Alabama. And the only loss during your the person that's or the people that are responsible for stopping that 23 game win streak, or was it 24? It was something like that.
Really,
Yeah, 29. Well, I think it was 29.
it was somewhere up there in the high 20s.
Yeah, uh, but it was Alabama, and you played them again in the national championship and got over the hump. That was the one.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that's what your record is against your former head coach. I mean, a guy that you work for, and obviously everybody has to have a stepping stone. Everybody has to be able to go through a process, go through a gauntlet, have a journey to be able to fall back on and be able to establish their foundation.
Yeah.
But once you become the head man,
Mm-hmm.
your record is your record, and that is something that is cemented and something that is obviously always going to be analyzed and people are going to be critical about. But I think he cares nothing about that because bling is bling.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you want to lose to somebody, why not lose to the person who's arguably the GOAT and chase that same standard? Because now, if he beats Alabama, that's what's on the line. Being able to say, this is now my show. This
Yeah.
is now my opportunity to be able to establish a dynasty in a
Mm-hmm.
tougher field of college football
Oh
with
yeah.
the
Yeah.
NIL and transfer portal. I
Mm-hmm.
can't agree with that more because that's one of the main reasons Nick hung it up. Um, you know,
No.
dealing with
Oh.
these external sources that are holding your players or grasping your players' attention besides becoming the best teammate they can be, becoming the best person they can be, going to school, cherishing their academic scholarship, cherishing the opportunity to develop relationships and establish a network. That
Mm-hmm.
old school mentality of going to college is starting to fade within the new generation because of the money driven society that we live in. So,
Yeah. Ain't no more loyalty either. Ain't no loyalty no more.
correct. That's why if Kirby is
They
able
want
to
to-
establish a dynasty in this era of college football,
He can't, bro. He won't, bro.
he, if that's what I'm saying, that's what I think is still on the line as far as the ramifications of the Georgia win this weekend.
It's and I think this game. I mean, it goes both ways. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Georgia just because of the record against against Bama and Nick. But that dates before Kirby even went to Georgia. We were still whipping them. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, Georgia's got a lot to get over, period, when it comes to Bama. Bama is they kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, because it's the same style of football, bro. That's what it is. Georgia always tries to come in and out physical us in the game that we created when it comes to Georgia and Bama. You know what I'm saying? Since '08, they've been trying to come in and whoop on us. And we've been dogging them since '08. They only done got us that one time, and that's in the national championship. And then we ain't got to talk about that. But I really do think this game is just as big for Kalen DeBoer as it is for Kirby Smart. This game here is gonna really set his tenure in place, or it's gonna create a cloud over his head. Bama fans only care about one thing, dog, and that's winning, and preferably winning against a few teams. Auburn number 1, LSU probably 2, Georgia can't see my fingers. They in that top 3. We can't lose to Georgia too many times, dog. Not when it comes to these kind of matchups. And if you're talking to a Bama fan, we still hold that championship loss to the heart. So we definitely do not want to take this L. With it being the first year we get a new head coach. Because now that's going to play into what we'll talk about probably in another episode, recruiting. That's going to play into players on the team now. Do they believe in him? To where do they feel like he can go in and he can beat Kirby? Obviously, he has beaten top-notch coaches multiple times at Washington, but this ain't Washington no more. This is the SEC. And I truly think, now I feel like the boy got everything he need to beat Kirby. I feel like he got the fear none, respect all factor. That shows me something. If you got an MO and y'all going in, fear none but respect all, that's telling me you know what you got on your hands, the boy. And I feel like if the boy can go in there and get this dub, don't let him get it in dominating fashion. Please don't let this man go in here and win by 7 or more. Because I promise you, bro, if he go in here and win by 10, Bama finna turn up, dog. Bama gonna turn, because the next 2 weeks, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. South Carolina gonna be tough, Vandy gonna be tough, but we should win them by 14 or more both games. Tennessee gonna be after them. So the next big game is Tennessee. This game here gonna play a part in how we be ready when we get ready to play Tennessee. If we get dubbed by Georgia, or we get beat by Georgia, and we look like we get out physical, we're gonna have a long season. We're gonna have a long season. Because Tennessee gonna exploit that all over again. Whatever Georgia highlight, Tennessee gonna run with it. So if Bama really want to set the tone for the season, they'll go out here and handle business. They'll go out here and handle
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's my take on what I feel like. If Bama win, the season is set, the mood is set, the tone is set for the rest of the year. We probably still gonna take. I say we'll take 1 L, but if we can beat Georgia, that's gonna set us in a good spot. That's gonna set us in a good spot because that's gonna give us confidence. That's all we need right now with the boy. We just need confidence, baby. Each week we just need more and more confidence. We just gotta keep stacking up confidence. Because the more folk get confident in his head coach and his caller, the more he gonna get comfortable. And when he get comfortable, bro, it's gonna be ugly for them opposing defenses. And Kane gonna be Kane. I ain't worried about the defense. I feel like the defense gonna do what they gonna do. They're gonna be some ball hawks. They're gonna get in there and try to get takeaways. It's gonna be about that secondary. It's gonna be about that secondary. Them young DBs. They gonna go at them. They gonna go at them. Xavier Brown, put your pants on, baby. They coming for you Saturday. The Money Jackson, you don't get picked on that much, but Saturday they're gonna call your name a couple times too. Bakway, when you get in the game, they coming after you. If you go listen to the episode with Malachi Moore on the New Wave show on today, they asked him, what was some of his fondest moments of, being a freshman playing in the SEC. And he said one thing he said was, you better come ready to play every single Saturday because they gonna pick on you. So that's telling you right then and there, freshman, the ball coming your way, so be ready. So, and I done seen a couple plays where we done been out of coverage. We done, missed missed the play or the blown coverage, but it didn't get exposed yet. It happened against USF, two plays in a row, two deep shots. Red Morgan won, Xavier Brown won. Quarterback just couldn't get the ball there. Could have got beat. Wisconsin didn't have the personnel. Why they trying to throw the ball 30, 40 times and you a run team? You know what I'm saying? So you a running defensive minded team. So I just feel like we hadn't played the right teams yet to try to exploit our weaknesses. Georgia gonna do it a little bit, but I think Tennessee gonna do it more than Carson Beck gonna do it. Carson Beck is still a AJ McCarron-esque game manager style of player, if you ask me. He can make the throws, but he's not your CJ Strouds, your Bryce Youngs, your Tua Tagovailoas. He's not that kind of quarterback. He's more of a Stetson Bennett in a Stetson Bennett, I guess Stetson Bennett way of saying it. He's more of Stetson Bennett. But Stetson Bennett even won championships that Carson Beck couldn't get last year because he couldn't beat Bama. So it's a lot on Carson Beck's shoulders. It's a lot on Kirby Smart's shoulders. It's a lot on Kalen DeBoer's shoulders, and it's a lot on Jalen Milroe's shoulders. It's gonna be a heck of a game. But whoever outcoach and whatever quarterback come to play, that's who gonna win that game.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a good start for BAM Media.
Yes, sir.
We will be coming with more and more content. BAM Media, Blessings and Miracles, Brandon and Malcolm. We thank you all for tuning in, and we look to hearing from you all as far as topic. Like, share, subscribe, comment what topics you would like to see us go over. We will do intro videos so y'all can get to know us a little bit more. And I think this was a good one, man.
Yes, sir. Go on, take them away. Hey, this your boy B Lock, co-host, BAM Media Show, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're gonna give y'all some more content like my boy MB just said. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all for chiming in. And we out of here.